When did a driving instructor put your life in danger? My driving instructor took away my car cameras because they'll fail you if they see these. So I showed him what real failure looks like. When I was 12, my older sister was R-worded by a police officer who pulled her over on the side of the road. She was in the hospital for 2 weeks and never told anyone what happened. She just kept saying, "He had a badge. No one will believe me." For years after that, my sister became obsessed with recording everything. I had to FaceTime her whenever I went anywhere. Grocery store, park, gym, everything. My entire life was dictated by a fear of something that never even happened to me. So when I turned 16, she got me a car. But before she handed me the keys, she'd installed 4 different cameras: dashboard, rear view, and 2 hidden ones pointing at the driver and passenger seats. She made me promise to never turn them off. "You're being paranoid," I told her. "Not every cop is bad." "It's not about good or bad," she said. "It's about evidence." But everyone at school thought it was weird. My friends refused to ride with me because they didn't want to be recorded. My boyfriend broke up with me because he said it felt like my sister was always watching. I started to resent her for making me the weird girl with the surveillance car. When I started driving lessons to get my license, my instructor was Lieutenant Morrison, aka Lieutenant Dan. He was ex-military, ran the best driving school in town, and had a wall full of awards. Parents specifically requested him because he was old school and taught respect along with driving. On my 3rd lesson, he noticed the cameras. "Did your parents install these?" he asked. "My sister," I said. "She's protective." He shook his head. "How can I teach you properly if I'm being watched?" He had a point. My sister's paranoia was ruining my life. "For the test," he said, "they'll fail you if they see these unauthorized recording devices. I can show you how to temporarily disable them, just for lessons and the test. Then you can turn them back on after you pass." So I let him show me. It was easy, just unplugging a few wires under the dash. He promised that we'd reconnect them after my test next week. My final lesson was on a Thursday. We were supposed to practice parallel parking downtown, but Lieutenant Dan said he knew a better spot, an old lot by the industrial district where the DMV used to test people. "More room to practice," he said. "Less pressure." The lot was empty. No other cars, no buildings nearby, just cracked gravel and faded lines. "Let's work on your 3-point turn," he said. But when I put the car in reverse, he grabbed the wheel. "Actually," he said, and his voice was different now, quieter. "Let's talk about respect." I tried to reach for my phone in the cup holder, but he already had it. "Paranoid families," he said, reaching into his jacket, "always think they're so smart with their cameras. But you gave me the one thing your sister couldn't protect you from, your trust. The rest was a blur." I remember screaming. I remember him saying I was just like the others, proud girls who needed to learn. I remember finally getting the door open and running, leaving my keys, my phone, everything. A woman at a gas station 2 miles away called 911 for me. When the police arrived at the lot, Lieutenant Dan was gone. So was my car. They found it 3 days later, wiped clean. No footage because I let him disconnect the cameras. But they did find something else in his garage. 7 other keys. 7 other cars he'd borrowed from students. 7 other girls whose families were too paranoid and who he'd convinced to trust him instead. 3 came forward. The others were too scared, or their families had moved away, or they'd been told no one would believe them because Lieutenant Morrison was a hero, a veteran, a respected member of the community with a wall full of awards. He'd been doing it for 12 years. He specifically chose students with protective families because he knew we'd be desperate to prove we didn't need protection. He knew exactly what to say to make us disconnect our own safety nets. But I wasn't even worried, because that wasn't the only camera my sister had installed, and I was about to ruin his life. Full story on channel, link below.